first reading, there are none. Policies for second reading. We need to approve the replacement of policy number 6173, sexual harassment prevention, with policy 6173, sexual harassment in the workplace, for second reading again and adoption. May have a motion. Well, thank you, Chris. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Molly.
So this, for this policy, the changes that we had to make were to the getting rid of the underlines and all of that, the rest of it. Exactly like that.
It was just neatening it up. Did anybody have any questions on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, approve the replacement of policy number 6170/7370, non-discrimination anti-harassment, with policy 6170/7370, non-discrimination and anti-harassment in the district, for second reading again and adoption. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Tiana. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay,
So I made paper copies in case you wanted to look at it more clearly, because there were a number of changes to this one based on the input that you gave at the last meeting. Specifically in the new updated version on page 3. And the general gist of these changes are, as we discussed last time, to make sure that definitions of bullying and harassment in both of the policies that we're going to talk about were more inclusive than just like the civil rights violation, to make, and then also to include a definition of what those things mean. So down where it says on page 3, generally stated harassment consists of, and it includes all these things. It explains what they mean exactly, and then we, in this one, we also got rid of the underlines.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you want to read that part. So generally stated harassment consists of subjecting an individual to unwelcome, and before it had listed information specific to the protected classes. So this now just says consists of subjecting an individual to unwelcome verbal, written, or physical conduct, which may include but is not limited to derogatory remarks, signs, jokes, pranks, demeaning comments, or behavior, slurs, mimicking, name calling, graffiti, innuendo, all these things listed. And then from the definition of what harassment is in the law, it says, which creates a hostile environment or would have the effect of unreasonably and substantially interfering with the educational performance, opportunities, or benefits, or mental or emotional or physical well-being, or reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause a person to fear for their safety, or reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause physical injury or emotional harm. And that was not in the original, those definitions, so that it's really articulated clearly what we're talking about.
And Joanne,
Yeah.
did they suggest us use the term generally just to be able to
Yes.
give that broader
Yeah. Mhm.
sequence? Okay. The biggest run on the sentence.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Did anybody on the board have any other further comments or thoughts on this? That was good. Is everybody comfortable voting on it at this point?
Yep.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah.
Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Okay, approve the replacement of policy number 6172/7372, bullying/harassment prevention and intervention, with policy 6172/7372, dignity for all students, for second reading again and adoption. May I have a motion?
So
Thank you, Tiana. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, so this one's got even more significant changes, because if you remember in VASA, it did not have definitions in it. So there's a whole section added that explains, what harassment and bullying means. And again, that explains, this is from the law, the creation of a hostile environment by conduct or by threats, intimidation, or abuse, including cyberbullying, that has or would have the effect of unreasonably and substantially interfering with the student's educational performance, opportunities, benefits similar to the other one. And then also, then it also says, because this does need to be in there because of the law, acts of harassment and bullying are acts toward any person, which we changed from the protected classes, including those acts based on a person's actual or perceived, and then all the categories. So the first part says it means it all the time for everybody, and then also for the protected classes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we changed on this one was your request to have the same section.
For definitions.
Well, we got definitions there, and but then also, yeah, if you knowingly make false.
Yes.
So we have that in
Yeah.
both of those policies now. Okay. And then the underlines and.
Did anybody have anything further on this one that they wanted to discuss, change, question?
No changes.
Right, thank you, everybody.
Good job on that.
Yeah, thank you for keeping track of everything.
And so when we, I'm trying to record it, because I listened to the recording couple times. Just on this note, we were trying to brainstorm ways that we can, not come back for reading after reading after reading. And so what we would like to do, moving forward is have, before we even get to first reading, to have like a time on the agenda when it's like policy discussion, and that we would bring to you what the proposed changes are, why, give you the background, give you some chance to look at it and have some discussion about it before we ever go to first reading. And just make a little time allotment at each meeting, that way we don't have to get into, is this the first reading, is the second reading, and what do we call this, before we even get to that point. Would that work for everybody?
So part of the business meeting itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because then it doesn't take so much time to get a policy approved too.
Right.
Gives you a chance to vet through some of your
Okay.
discussion points. Good idea.
Right, you'll still get them ahead of a meeting, but
Right.
then we'll have some discussion together, right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Especially since we're trying to go through everything.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, that brings us to our first of two opportunities for comments from the public. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to convene into the public comment period of our meeting. Although state law does not require us to hold a public comment period, we have chosen to do so because we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a discussion. Accordingly, please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. This is because we take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We will, however, respond to your questions and concerns at a future meeting or have the proper staff member get back to you at the appropriate time. The district clerk will be keeping track of questions and make sure that they are passed to the appropriate person or persons. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to entertain any comments or questions about school personnel. Please know, however, that we take personal concerns very seriously. On these matters, we would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels. Finally, we recognize that right now our nation and our community are polarized on a number of issues. That said, we want our school board meetings to serve as an example to our students that members of our school board and members of our community can deal with the controversial issues in a civil manner and demonstrate mutual respect for one another. In that spirit, we will insist that all speakers and members of the audience maintain civility and respect for any divergent views that others possess. We ask that speakers please address their comments to the board directly rather than to the audience. In the unlikely event, I don't think we need to worry about that. Nobody's going to become adversarial today. The board will now entertain public comments. Each individual speaker is allotted 3 minutes. The individual time limits will be enforced so that as many members of the public who wish to speak may be allowed to do so. Please state your name and residency before you begin. Now, before I open up for public comments, at this time, we are asking that anybody is here to speak towards girls wrestling to please hold your comments for now. There is another portion in the meeting where we will be getting some information about girls wrestling. And after we have all heard that information, if your questions have not been answered at that point, we will allow you to speak as a little mini public comment at that time. We just thought it might change what you say once we all hear the updated information, okay? Not that we're not gonna let you speak, but just it might be more prudent to have all the information on board before doing so. All that being said, if you have something you would like to bring up to the board this evening, please stand and state your name and residency. I guess you're going first, Mr. Walsh.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean Walsh. I am a resident of Lisle. I'm a proud alumnus of this very district, and I have 4 children who attend Whitten Point schools. I currently serve on the board of directors for the Youth Club Sports Organization and have recently become the parent representative for the Eagles Nest Booster Club baseball program. I am rising before you today to speak on Board of Education policy number 3250 with the subject use of school facilities, materials, and equipment, specifically paragraph 1. While I understand that our school district must operate within the guidelines of the policy set forth by the Board of Education, I am asking for 2 things. 1, to have the Board of Education grant a special waiver / recommendation of waiver to the superintendent and or the athletic director for the baseball program for Sunday usage in the CEA gymnasium. And 2, to have the board take the necessary steps to review and modify the policy. My passion for sports has long been around the game of baseball. The life lessons that the game teaches about perseverance and keeping consistent, I believe, are bedrocks in helping our student athletes prepare for a successful career and life after high school. The biggest challenge we face in our district is the climate in which we reside. Our geography does not allow for outdoor baseball activities to happen until the weather breaks in the spring. However, as part of the capital project that our district has undertaken and implemented, new facilities are currently installed, which will allow our players and coaches the ability to gather and train as a team. Aside from the immediate health benefits to keeping our kids healthy with additional exercise, keeping our kids in baseball shape will allow us to protect their arms from overuse and exertions as they're trying to get ready for gameplay. Furthermore, keeping our players together will continue to help grow the bond of teammates and have another avenue for keeping our players accountable with academic work and overall behaviors. Our area simply does not have any other facilities that are feasible for our players to undertake this type of activity. While there are private companies and organizations in the greater Binghamton area, they routinely charge between $50 and $100 per session hour per player, which could cause a financial burden for some of our baseball families. Meanwhile, here in our district, we have the facilities that are set up with the equipment needed, certified school staff who are willing to volunteer their time on Sundays, and other volunteers such as myself with passion for the game and helping our student athletes develop their love of the game, help develop their love of the game, camaraderie, and skill sets. Please consider my request to help further this program, our student experiences, and to help equip our players for life after they are no longer allowed to play the kids' game anymore. I trust that the board and administration will do the right thing because after all, the kids are the point. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Thank you.
6 seconds left.
Good job, Sean.
You just got an A in my college class.
I would be so honored.
He hasn't paid his tuition yet. Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Walsh. Is there anybody else who would like to speak at this time? It jumped out and bit you, I saw it.
It did, poor Wendy. Okay, so, I'm a parent, my name is Beth Ann Quayle. I'm a parent with I have a first grader and a pre-K 4 child. So I'm a little emotional because I've been going through a lot lately. My daughter came home with lice, and this is the second time in 4 months my kids have come home with lice. And Molly has been working with me she's been wonderful, but, I've been told by the nurse and by Molly that the policy states that parents are not, they are not necessarily have to be notified if a child in a class has had lice. There cannot be head checks without parents' permission, and they no longer do classroom head checks. And I cannot financially and emotionally get lice again. My husband and I, spent our Christmas fund for our children on bills because I had to close down my house. I babysit, and I had to close down my house during those times that my daughter had head lice, because I'm not gonna let the kids that I babysit come and get head lice. So our Christmas fund for our children is gone. We have no money for them because we had to choose between the Christmas fund and paying the electric bill or the car payment, because these are things that I cover with babysitting. And my daughter emotionally went through a lot. She's 4. I had to comb through her hair every few hours. And I check all the kids that I babysit. I check my kids every day. And my daughter, again, who was 4, came home today and said, "Mommy, do I have bugs again?" She's 4. And I would like, as a parent, to at least be able to have a notification if the children in a class, I don't need to know the child's name. I don't ever want to shame a child. I just want to know if Julia's class gets lice again, a note home saying, "Hey, this class has lice." Because that would not only have me check as a parent, but it'll let other parents know to check, because not all parents are as freakish about it as I am and check all the time. I check my daycare kids. They tell me all the time, "Beth Ann, why are you checking me?" Because school districts, it happens, and I know it happens. And I know it's technically not a health concern, but it's a financial one. And it's an emotional one. My kids come home all the time. "Mommy, I don't want you to check my hair. Mommy, I don't want the bugs again." I had just bagged up all the kids' stuffed animals from June when my son came home with it, and I had gotten one bag out, and then my daughter got it. So all of their stuffed animals had to go back into storage, vacuuming, the money for the NICS stuff, the laundry. I can't afford it. Emotionally, I can't do it. My kids can't do it. My daycare families, they depend on me. And when I have to close, so just think about maybe updating some policies. That's all I ask. And again, I don't need to know names. I don't ever want to shame a child, because we're a clean family and my daughter still came home with it. I know it's not a dirty thing, but it just needs to be, something needs to be changed. And I know I'm not the only parent that thinks so.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Beth Ann.
Thank you, Beth Ann. Thank you.
Any other takers at this time? Okay, thank you very much. We now come to one of my favorite parts of our meeting, which is commendations, which is pretty impressive.
Got a lot of reading there,
I
Joanne.
do. I'm ready.
Yes.
All right, so we commend the athletic director, Whitney Point, varsity cross country coach Hayes, varsity cross country athletes, and the many people and organizations involved in the 59th Whitney Point Golden Eagles cross country invitational. This is a great success as usual. So thank you to everybody who volunteered. Thank you to everybody who was involved, and thank you to Ms. Hayes for organizing that whole unbelievable event. Whitney Point High School students who attended the Generation Leadership Summit at SUNY Portland, October 17th. That's always a great experience for all of the kids who get to go. Whitney Point Community Schools and Mr. Tom Tazler with Cornell Cooperative Extension for partnering to provide the Nature Club, an after-school enrichment program for 3rd grade students. And I get to see some of them trouncing around outside my windows. I want to be out there with them. They're having a lot more fun. Thank you for that. Access VR for sponsoring a mentoring day, which was attended by the high school transition skills class. The day included traveling to local businesses such as Lowe's, Weiss, and Achieve to learn about career opportunities. Ms. Guzman and the CEA faculty and staff and students for a successful Halloween parade held on Friday, October 27th. Anybody got to see that? It was awful cute. Laura's Youth Services for educating students at the TRA about the dangers of vaping. Mrs. Cook and the high school student council, as well as local volunteers, were putting on a fun trunk or treat on event on Monday, October 30th. It was pretty chilly, but they managed to make it fun. Whitney Point varsity volleyball coach Vacone and varsity volleyball team for competing in the volleyball sectionals held on October 31st. Athletic director and Whitney Point varsity cross-country coach Hayes, varsity cross-country team for competing in the Section 4 Class C cross-country championship held on November 2nd. Whitney Point varsity coach Detondo and varsity swim team for podium finishes at the Section 4 Class C swim championships held on November 4th. Whitney Point varsity field hockey coach Houston Montesano and the varsity field hockey team for winning the New York State Class C regional championship held on November 5th. Ms. Murphy Hayes and the many people involved in all aspects of rescheduling and preparing for the first football game under the lights. Would have been nice if it was on Saturday, would have been a lot warmer, but it was still fun on Thursday. But yeah, that was quite a game.
And those speakers were good. They
Yes.
were bouncing the CEA windows when I was teaching that night.
And you could actually understand what was being said.
Yes, you can.
That was even better.
Whitney Point varsity football coach Hakes, assistant coach Hopner and Davis, and the varsity football team for a nail biting homecoming football game. Nail biting, that is something, it really was something. Mr. Jones, Mrs. Hawley, Ms. Burdick, Officer Noyes, and the volunteer chaperones for a successful homecoming dance. Ms. Driscoll, Ms. Brocious, and the TRA Student Council, Mr. Zaliga, Ms. Burns, Officer Kelly, and the volunteer chaperones for the first successful TRA dance, which was on the same night as homecoming dance. SUNY Portland childhood and early childhood practicum students, Dr. Whitall, Mrs. Guzman, Mr. Hokop, faculty and staff for a successful CEA math and science exploration night.
Can
That
we
was
add,
held on November 7th.
can we add the, officer, what was our officer, Molly?
Brad,
Oh, Officer
Yeah,
Brad.
he joined us that night. It was amazing. Yes.
He is amazing. We've got the greatest school resource officers. Educators from the Moss House Bar School in Endicott for visiting Mrs. Alston's TRA health class to introduce students to the concept of bar school programs and how changing your environment can shift one's mood and emotions. Mrs. Tupy, Mrs. Bobier, and the Community Service Club members for volunteering to rake leaves at the Discovery Center. CEA teacher Ms. Dennison for being recognized by the WICZ Teacher of the Week program.
Switch gears now and take a look at one special teacher.
In tonight's Teacher of the Week, brought to you by Springbrook, we head to Whitney Point Elementary School, where a second grade teacher is helping build character one student at a time.
Second grade teacher Olivia Dennison has been teaching students for 6 years, a job that never gets old.
Second grade's a really sweet spot because they're still little, they still kind of believe in the magic of learning, but they're really independent with a lot of things too. So it's nice to see a really kind of quick progression of learning throughout the course of the year.
Dennison uses games and fun activities along with her lessons to help engage the students. She also provides day-to-day essentials to kids if they need it.
Something special we do in our classroom, we have a care box. So if a student needs like a comb or a toothbrush or a scrunchie or, Vaseline for chapstick, like something like that, we always have that available to them as well.
She emphasizes the importance of building character at a young age.
Teaching them to be kind, accept differences, get along well with others, and, work really hard to do all of those things that build their character.
And she also believes that everyone has a part in the process of learning.
Kids aren't just learning from me, I'm not just learning from them, but they're learning from each other. And I think it's just important to highlight that, everyone in education is involved in everyone's education.
That's great. You're very nice.
Hey, Mrs. Guzman, faculty, staff, and students for their annual celebration of our veterans in honor of Veterans Day. Special thank you to all the veteran family members of our CEA students who were able to attend. It's always makes me cry every time. It's a wonderful event. The Whitney Point varsity field hockey team, Coach Houston Montesano, and all of the varsity team members and for winning Class C state championship again. I was there on Saturday for the semifinals, and it's like just incredible to watch them play. I had to come back for a meeting on Sunday, and I was telling Shannon earlier that I was listening to the live stream as I was driving up to Cornell to go to a meeting, and the announcers just kept saying that they're one of the top teams in the whole country, that, that they are just unbelievable, that they can't believe the athleticism of our students, and that the other team was just good for, holding their own. Because playing against Whitney Point, that's, what can you expect? So it was really something to listen to that audio as I was driving. But yeah, they really are something. Whitney Point High School students who were selected to represent Whitney Point High School at the BOCES Engineering Day. They were teamed with students from around the whole region to create Rube Goldberg machines.
I love those.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And then also, thanks and congratulations to all our artists who, put up this presentation here in the district. So if you have time to take a look at, all the names and the incredible artwork that our students, produce, it's really, really, truly amazing.
So those are absolutely
Yeah.
stunning.
Yeah.
Quite impressive.
Really wonderful.
Thank you very much.
This weekend marks plenty of state championship with a pair of Section 4 teams coming out on top. One of which has now won 9 state titles and represents a full circle moment for some players. The latest championship parade out of Whitney Point field hockey. For the Golden Eagles, winning a state championship is nothing new.
You know, it's happening year after year, but it's a lot of work and it's the same every year. It's just as exciting as the first one for us.
Coach Husey has been at the helm for 8 of the Point's 9 state championships, leading a new group of girls to the pinnacle of high school field hockey 8 of the last 10 years. But for Sadie Short, the team's leading scorer this season, it's number 1, and her first time seeing the impact from a new perspective.
It feels great to have like people look up to us and like them want to accomplish our dreams and be like us one day, I guess.
Nobody knows that feeling more than Coach Houston's daughter, Genevieve, who grew up watching the Eagles dominate from the sideline.
It feels amazing because I remember being one of them little ones, just watching us and be like, want to be one of them. And it just feels amazing. It feels natural to be here again.
Winning is the natural state for the Eagles. Sure, they've took home the last 3 Class C titles, but they've also won 58 straight games in that stretch. But that doesn't mean teams who are rolling over. In the state championship, Carl Place gave the Eagles one of their tougher tests of the season.
And to hold us 2-0, that's our closest score other than the Windsor scores this year. So it was a little nerve wracking for us, but at the same time, we were maintaining possession of the ball. So we knew as long as we had possession, they couldn't score.
Something Whitney Point did for the final 6 games of the season, outscoring teams in the playoffs 31-0.
And just to come back and like win all together as a family.
And that family will look to do its own over again next year as a living source of inspiration for young athletes through Whitney Point and all of the Southern Tier.
Oh, I feel like I've reached my goal because I've always wanted to be one of the older kids walking through the halls with their mothers and just being like proud to be one of them.
Woohoo!
Quite impressive.
Thank you for showing that, Stacy, because I missed that. I noticed it because I thought, why goes that? That's good. Okay, there is no old business. We are postponing tonight's CEA presentation, until our next meeting. So Ms. Guzman, you get a pass for today, so you can.
It's beautiful. I saw the presentation. Good job, Molly.
Yes, good job, Molly.
And we will see it. That brings us to the approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please? So moved. Thank you, Chris. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tiana. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Anybody abstain? Excuse me. I'm tripping all over my own pen tonight. Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education of the Whitney Point Central School District rescind the appointment of Sarah Souza, part-time teacher's aide, effective October 26, 2023. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Tiana. And a second?
Second.
That was Eric. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Be it resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education of the Whitney Point Central School District rescind the appointment of Robert Sines, cleaner, effective October 26, 2023. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Tiana. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Molly. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, approve the following 2023 to 2024 winter coaching recommendations. Boys wrestling, varsity JV, Austin Rich Creek, and varsity JV assistant coach, William McNeil. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Tiana.
Second.
Thank you. Is that you, Eric? Okay.
Okay, so, this, proposal is a change, it's the addition of a position. As you know, there was a proposal that came to the athletic advisory committee and then to me regarding, a girls', wrestling, option for students as a separate team. Our athletic advisory committee met, they had, took into a lot of consideration all the different considerations, including what the implementation would look like, what the level of interest was, what the long range plan would be, what kind of scheduling issues we would need to have, if there would be impact on current sports, if there were any Title IX issues, coaching issues with all the things that impact sports like transportation, funding, uniforms, officials, facility use, and then we had a presentation, which this board has also seen. I mean, this is Ayers, who does a fantastic job presenting how passionate she is about giving the girls this opportunity and what it has done for her daughter. Mr. McNeil also gave a little short presentation too, about from his perspective, how he saw things. We then had the deadline for registration for winter sports, which was November 9th. So after the advisory council met, we had to sort of look at where we were with numbers. I'm gonna just share with you what the considerations were for the girls wrestling program, and the issues are kind of complicated by the fact of the status in the state right now. It's considered an emerging sport. So there's some really great things about that, and there are some things that are making it a little bit difficult for us to figure out what to do and to plan. But what the council really looked at was, if we have a girls only team, then girls, under the rules currently, girls can only wrestle girls, and they are permitted to share space with a boys wrestling team, but they can't permit or drill with boys. The wrestlers, at the point that we were thinking that what our numbers look like, and based on the interest survey, we weren't sure how we could have enough students to be able to practice only amongst girls. This may be a conversation that we're gonna have to have moving forward. We then also considered what it meant if we were gonna have mixed competition, as we have in the past. The girls then, under the current rules, because it's considered an emerging sport, are still allowed to not only just wrestle on the boys team, but they're also allowed to engage in all girl only events. The motivating factor for the council and for me is to give girls every opportunity they can to wrestle. So what the recommendation from the council was, and my recommendation to you, is that we add, and you'll see it on the agenda, that we add an assistant coach position, with the intent of having that another person who can attend most specifically to girls, so there's more people power, more coaching power, to attend to the girls that are going to be wrestling. We had one high school wrestler, but today we've had some more girls express interest, so hopefully the numbers will be growing. And then the girls under that rule for this year can, if they choose, wrestle and practice with boys or not. They can compete against boys if they want to, but they also can go to girls' events. And if a girl wants to just only practice with girls and go to girls' events, they can do that under the current state of affairs. This will likely change next year, so we're gonna have to reevaluate this next year. A number of things are happening at the state, including the fact that they have passed changing the style of wrestling that girls are doing, so it's gonna make it, and I think, and Ms. Hayes can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's not gonna be considered an emerging sport then, if it all gets approved and it just becomes a sport, then you have to really make a choice. And if we're gonna have a girls team, then you're gonna be only a girls team. Additionally, in our league, there's no schedule for girls wrestling. I'm thinking that next year that may be a different situation. The idea is to add personnel, give girls every opportunity. We would like to stop calling it the boys wrestling team and just call it the wrestling team and make sure that the girls get to do everything they want to do. And that we have a person that's going to be able to take them where they need to go and give them the opportunity but in whatever their preference is. So if a girl wants to wrestle against boys, she can. And then she can go to girls' events also. Again, this is the last year that we can do this. So that's what the recommendation is. You may know that Mr. McNeil had decided that he was not gonna coach this coming year. We have a new person, Austin Rich Creek, who's got an extensive background, who's going to be taking over as the coach. But Mr. McNeil has been asked to come back and sort of help us out with this transition and then make sure that we have somebody who's attending to the girls. And then like I said, there's some modified girls who are wrestling and then maybe more will start to come forward, but we can make sure that they can get to events. With the people that we had before, that was a stretch to be able to do that. So that's the recommendation. Again, we're gonna have to have this discussion next year because the context is gonna be different and the options are gonna be different. So I know that there's a lot of people who are saying there's a lot of kids coming up, girls. And if that's true and they get some modified level, then maybe that's the place that we start. That the council also thought that if they're aging up, that may be the place where we start to have a separate girls team. Or maybe we may have to look at some other options, finding other ways to get our girls, with other girls. So that's the recommendation. That's the reason why we have 2 positions on there where before we would have only had 1. Okay, yeah. Questions?
I think it's a great way to move forward. At the NISBA conference, I actually went to a couple athletic meetings. And a lot of school districts are seeing this emerging sport to become a big growth. And I like the fact that Winnie Point is trying to put our foot into the marketplace, but into the place where young females can feel excited about what they enjoy doing. So I'm glad that we're trying to do this and hopefully it will work out.
Is there any restriction or allowance for us to combine participants from multiple districts? So if we don't have quite enough to say, hey, we got a team.
Yeah.
We could take some surrounding schools and we can get in this.
Yeah.
We do have that option.
Yeah, so like, for example, for next year, if this is not an option, I actually talked to Ms. Hayes about it. She'll tell you it's very complicated, but yeah, schools do that. I was in a meeting yesterday where schools are trying to do that especially small schools like ours, sort of combining. It's difficult when we play in different leagues, but yeah, we would have to figure something out. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit more.
So it's called a merger pool. So you might hear schools like Afton, Harpersville, Gilbertsville, Mount Upton, or.
Murphy, I'm sorry, I'm having a difficult time hearing you.
And I am to tweak my back driving to field hockey, so I'll bubble up here.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's better to keep moving. It's called a merger. So you might hear like Deposit Hancock or Harpersville, Afton, Bainbridge, so what happens is there's a formal committee at the state and section level. And so there's deadlines every season that you have to submit the paperwork, and Board of Education have to agree, like Union Springs and Fort Byron, they have to agree to look at all aspects of athletics when you merge a particular sport. And may that be finance, insurance, transportation, who's going to supervise the coach, who's the home team? Are you going to adopt, a new name? Are you going to change your uniform? Are you going to keep the same colors? Like for instance, Spencer Burnett and Cantor are, instead of being blue and red, they are now purple and they have a different mascot. So there's lots of things to consider when there's a merger, and sometimes people do it for certain sports and not other sports. You know, over the years, I've gotten requests, over the last 20 to mergers for swimming, mergers for football, mergers for bowling, mergers for tennis. I got a merger question tonight on an email about boys swimming. So, you know, it's a lot to consider. So it's an opportunity that some districts explore. You know, transportation is always a challenge. So, you know, those are things that school districts are being creative. But there is some planning and thought process behind it, if we were to go in that direction for any sport, including girls wrestling. So I hope that explains it a little bit better.
Yeah, I remember back when I was in my coaching days, Marathon approached us because they had a couple male swimmers that wanted to swim. And we didn't merge, we just allowed them to practice with us. And one of us became their identified coaches, because merging would have changed our sectional needs, classifications. So you have to be really careful what you
Yeah,
do.
so
Yeah.
some of the smaller schools, because they're so small, when they take the combined number, they'll stay as class D or a C. But you might have noticed, for whatever reason this year, Binghamton and Windsor merge for something, but that would create Windsor not to be in a smaller competition anymore. That would mean they'd have to be a double A team. So depending on who you merge with, so say for instance, we merged Genango Forks and Whitney Point for field hockey, we would no longer be in a Class C championship. That would move us all the way to A. And, you know, that creates, you know, different opportunities and different competition, which sometimes can, you know, be a negative effect towards championships if you're trying to achieve certain titles. So, you know, and each sport, it's so complicated, you would think it's easy, but some sports are a 5-class sport and some classes are a 2-class sport, and wrestling is a 2-division sport. And so it's clear as mud sometimes to understand all the rules, you know, and, you know, it's really my responsibility as the athletic director to know and educate people about those expectations and guidelines. But, you know, there's so many governing bodies. You have NISBA, which is the state level. Then you have Section 4, which is our local regional level, and then you have our league level. So we have to abide by all those governing bodies.
And so Murphy, like, so for, if we stick with, you know, this mixed competition, like potentially can our girls practice with other girls from another team if we could figure out transportation?
So you could have, instead of being merged school, you could have, like, you know, it sounds silly, but like back in the day, you know, when women's sports was just starting, you would have play days. So you could, if the 2 superintendents agreed that it's okay insurance wise to be in the same room as each other, you could practice collectively, but not be on the same team, just be practice partners. You know, we would have to coordinate that with time and transportation. It's kind of like a scrimmage, you know, when you get together for a teaching instructional setting, but you're not actually competing, you're practicing. So
I just want to make sure that I'm understanding the whole scenario for this year. It's not that we have said permanently no to creating a girls wrestling team.
Right.
What we have said is to make it a wrestling team, not girls, not boys. So that in this current state of how things are shaping up, this year, the girls have a choice between just wrestling with girls and going to the tournaments that feature just female wrestlers. They also have a choice by not designating them as a girls team. If they want, they can go to tournaments and compete against male wrestlers. So it gives them the opportunity this year to do both.
Right, and the only difference is that if a girl was successful and then she wanted to compete in the section championships to advance her to the state tournament, it's not a state championship yet because it's emerging sport, but it's a state tournament, then she at the end of her season would have to declare that she wanted to just be in the girls advanced tournament, you know, but throughout the season, she could choose both. There's so many points a wrestling team has to have as an individual, and they just can't go over their acquired number of points that they have to have as a wrestler. The part that's challenging is that, as Ms. Sexton said, there's not a league or a section schedule. So there may be tournaments, or there may be bouts, or there might be at a wrestling, there might be a section of girls. So right now, there, you know, you could come on a Tuesday night and a neighboring school could come for our league matchup. And there, if they didn't have any girls and the girls wanted to wrestle that night, if they were mixed competition, if they chose, they could still wrestle a boy because they wanted to do something on a league schedule. When they go to a tournament, they might go to a tournament that's mixed, or they might go to a tournament that's just girls if they choose, or if they really wanted some girls, I don't know specifically because some, like, Ms. Sexton said, signed up today. But Ms. Keel, she would tell you, you know, what her choices would be, but some girls throughout the state want to wrestle boys, you know what I mean? So all kids have a different perspective, but it's about choices. Very similar about if you take baseball and softball, you know, there's a girls softball team and there's a boys baseball team and they're declared by gender. But if a girl really wanted to play baseball, she would have to go under mixed competition and she would play baseball because she wanted to be on that particular sport that is declared a male sport. So, you know, a girl could still in the future years declare that she wanted to be on boys wrestling versus girls wrestling if she chose that path, just like if girls wanted to choose baseball versus softball.
Not like, so I've been trying to read up on like the difference between freestyle and I'm like, so,
Greco and
Yeah,
everything.
which I've always heard, but I've not really ever understood the technical details, but, like, yeah, so next year it's gonna be different. Like,
Yeah.
they've already voted to change what
Change.
girls are gonna do.
Are they gonna do Greco or what are they gonna do?
They're gonna do freestyle with what they're considering. They haven't, it's like they're building it as the plane is flying, but they haven't decided which rules they're going to adopt yet from freestyle. So once that wrestling committee at the state level has more specifics, and they also know that they're going at a very fast pace and that they might have to, you know, massage things as they go. I mean, they're trying to give as many opportunities, because some of you might have remembered when Mrs. Ayers shared that, you know, there are wrestling scholarships. So, you know, females want those opportunities to go to college and have those, you know, one of our graduates, Mr. Durden, who is an administrator at Windsor, and he was a big wrestler, and was an athletic director for a period of time. His daughter will graduate from Windsor and she'll go on a wrestling scholarship. But, you know, so the reason why the push right now is to think about freestyle versus folk style is because they're trying to attend to what's happening at the collegiate level.
One more question for you, Murphy. That's great news. Is there any requirements for the girls wrestling to test
So,
before they participate in the event or?
so that's the state education department.
Okay,
So, prior to last December, through the mixed competition, even if a boy wanted to play volleyball, everybody had to take, a fitness test. And so they have removed the fitness test
okay,
right now, so I still have to, fill out the paperwork and, have the nurse practitioner, who's our medical director, Ms. Sexton, and the principal sign it as formality. And then we just have to submit the paperwork, but, there's not that obstacle anymore, for girls. But I sat probably a week and a half ago, they had 7 forums across the state around the BOCES on a Zoom, and the state education department is listening to, all varieties of people, of all educators to student athletes to superintendents to people in the public to people at the college level as to how to move mixed competition forward in the future.
Okay.
So I can imagine that the regulation sometime might be updated, but I don't know what that predicts, what that looks like yet. But for right now, there's no fitness testing.
so as of right now, if a girl wants to wrestle, we're allowing her to wrestle with other girls if there's availability, and that we're also allowing them to wrestle with boys. And there is no requirement for testing.
Right, and if the girl truly didn't want to wrestle boys, she could make that choice. The hard part is there's just not as many
Girls right now,
matches and
right.
schedules.
Understood, okay, but right now we're offering that mix because it's an emerging
Yeah, I
sport.
mean, as Ms. Sexton said, that if they choose mixed, based on everything we've studied, it gives them the most opportunities that they feel comfortable, if, within the points they're allowed to get in wrestling.
And there's some recruiting going on, which is helpful,
Uh-huh.
because if a girl wants to wrestle just girls, we need some more girls on our. On our team, so that
Right.
they can wrestle each other, because as you know, you can't be, 180 pounds wrestling
Right.
somebody who's 98 pounds.
Right.
We need to have- So.
Well, you could.
The weight
but
class,
It's not a good
right.
idea.
Yeah.
Well, this is good news.
Yeah,
Thank you for
and
that
and
update.
it's hard because, wrestling is an individual sport,
Mhm.
but it's, unique. Ms. Sexton and I've had a lot of discussions, like, with the track and field, or with swimming, or with cross country, they're individual sports too, but you don't need somebody else to practice with, where wrestling, it's best to have a partner to be able to condition.
Right, makes sense. Perfect. Thank you.
So I'm assuming selective classification is still in play.
So it's not called selective classification anymore. It's called athletic advanced placement. So that's like when a 7th and 8th grader get promoted to high school, but there is fitness testing still
For that-
with,
for that.
but they're two separate things.
Okay, and not necessarily something, but just something I just want to make awareness of. We already have a problem with students, especially athletes, having, dysphoria, like they've gotta be skinnier, they gotta do this, they gotta do that, and wrestling. My husband was a wrestler, my boys were all wrestlers, I know wrestling well. So I just want us as a district to constantly, and our coaches to constantly be watching our athletes, both male and
just-
female, to monitor that.
Yeah, they just changed the rule though, and the coaches just had to get educated. So it's called the 1.5% rule. So they are always in the sport of wrestling, looking out for students' health and wellness, may it be about their weight and their nutrition, but also, skin infections and personal contact and hygiene. So, the wrestling committee has at the state level, a safety committee that overlooks those things. And so there's a lot of education, and what people don't realize in all sports, but especially in wrestling, there's a lot of paperwork. The coaches are required to do a lot of things online. They're allowed to do a lot of reporting. They're in charge of entering things ahead of time, declaring kids' weights beforehand, making sure that, weight assessments are appropriate. So, that the kid is healthy and strong to be able to compete, not necessarily, tired and exhausted from over exercising and under eating. So.
Thank you, Murphy.
Thank you,
I
Murphy.
don't want to make it sound too bad, because we want like some more people to come forward. to
Yeah.
coach.
I just had one quick question, and it's not, it's just with the mixed settings and not, and I'm gonna stress, it's not for wrestling per se, but are there any other liabilities on the mixed teams by having mixed?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's always about safety and supervision and quality of coaching. I mean, we just had a mixed team for volleyball. We've had mixed team for football. We've had mixed team for wrestling in years past. And, it's about students and staff communicating and being able to be mindful of appropriate space and respect. And, just again, quality coaching and supervision. So every kid is, making good decisions and, just having respect and privacy when necessary.
No, I meant injuries during the event. I'm
Oh, well,
sorry, I
yeah,
wasn't-
and injuries too are important, but, that's part of the mixed competition, committee is to make sure, that the nurse practitioner, looks at all athletes and says that this student athlete will be able to compete to the best of their ability, in this setting. And that's why, especially for wrestling, and, the coaches can speak to it better than I can, but that's why weight classes are so important to have a partner. And that's why, there is the, ambition to recruit, is because you want to have someone that's relatively the same size and ability to be able to do that for safety. But if not, they have dummies, and if not, there's weight training and there's other skills and drills that they do to get ready for the moves. But, we really try to employ the coaches who have those expertise to make those decisions.
No, I just wanted to clarify, because if there's no athletic aptitude being tested, then that to me was one way that
Yeah,
things
and
were
I
done.
think too, it's important that, sometimes it's not just the sport, may it be,
Yeah.
field hockey or soccer or football or basketball or wrestling. It's about, also good conditioning, strength, flexibility, endurance, cardiovascular fitness. So, not only do you want to be a good athlete and a good technician of that particular sport, but you want to have good health and wellness. And, we want kids to have that into adulthood. So that's one of the life lessons, to make sure that you can prevent injuries or illness by being physically fit and well.
Well, I appreciate that. I participate in many different sports, many different things, so I try to look at it a lot of different ways, so I appreciate that information.
Yeah, and I think what the students have realized is that and one thing that we're trying collectively for all sports is, ever since COVID, is to get young adults re-engaged in activities. And so the best advocates to get kids to increase all the numbers for all sports, they were better this fall. And, Coach McNeil and I were talking this afternoon, he would like females on the teams, but he'd also like more boys on the team. And, I, as the indoor track coach, would like, more, people on, and right now JV basketball for girls would like a few more people. So if the kids can help beat the drum for all kids to do whatever they, strive for, that would be really helpful, collectively for our student body.
Absolutely. Boy, Murph, you didn't know you were gonna be put on the spot. Thank
That's
you.
okay.
You did excellent.
She took over Molly's.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions from the board members? Okay. I would like to now, excuse me, I would like to now open it up to our wrestling's own little comments from the public. Please remember that what I stated before is the same now. But if you have,
We have a female wrestler here.
we do. Oh,
And our varsity coach.
Yes.
wow.
Austin Rich Frank is here.
Izzy, do you want to come up and talk to us?
Yeah, sure.
I don't mean to put you on the
I
spot.
was, it's fine, I literally did training in public speaking. So,
What's your name again? I'm sorry.
I'm Isabel Keel, this is my second year doing wrestling. I obviously live in Whitney Point, I am currently a junior. I started out in wrestling, watching my little brothers in youth club, which we just had a practice that I was helping out at. So that was my biggest thing into wrestling, was seeing them, enjoying it with them. And then I started out at a free summer program where I literally, my dad was like, put these shoes on, go wrestle, to make sure that I actually wanted to do it. So last year we tried not to be as, for lack of a better word, pushy for a girls wrestling team, because we wanted to make sure I wanted to still do it. So I was able to, one of the main tournaments that was great for mixed competition, I was injured during, so I was not able to do that. I'm really hoping I can do it this year. And then near the end of season, I was able to go to an all girls tournament at Homer. I also managed to somehow miraculously qualify for sectionals.
Wow.
Last year, I won my first match in order to do that. It was a lot of fun and a great experience. So, addressing what you had brought up earlier about weight. One of the big things my mom and I have done is intensive research on girls and cutting weight. Like, one of the things the boys do, they put all kinds of layers on to sweat off that weight right before weigh-ins. And we've learned that women cannot do that. We'll pass out. We'll just overheat and pass out. So one of the things that Coach McNeil has been informed on, and the new girls that have been coming up, is before any sort of weight cutting, any sort of that, a medical professional needs to be involved. I know personally, my doctor told me I'm not allowed to cut weight whatsoever, because I have no weight to cut. There's nothing there for me to lose safely and still continue to be healthy. So, I just wanted to clear that up for you. So,
I don't know if you know, my daughter was on the Olympics, and so I know exactly
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
but I just want to make sure that at this level that has been brought up, anything else, I am extremely glad with the mixed competition and the rules being, and the testing being changed. I feel like this is a big movement. I figured there wouldn't be a big, step forward into a girls wrestling, but this is huge. I honestly was not expecting this year. Next year it would be very beneficial to be a separate team because of the change in style in wrestling. Freestyle and folk style, they aren't extremely different, but they are different enough that they need to be coached differently. But at this moment, the biggest thing I want is for my coach to have a key to the women's locker room. Earlier, I literally could not get in there because it was locked on me. So other than that, my experience has been amazing on the team and what has been going forward, and the option of mixed competition is astonishing to me.
Izzy, what grade are you in?
I'm in 11th.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your enthusiasm, and you do excellent at public speaking. And
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed listening to you and how much you love wrestling and how you look forward to it. So thank you. It's nice to see all of the work that Lexi and a lot of people have put in, probably including yourself.
I would not have realized that this was something I would be able to do if it wasn't for Miss Ayers' daughter and Shayla in years before. I wouldn't have even realized this is possible, because I feel bad because people are like, oh my gosh, you're such a trailblazer. And I'm like, honestly, it wasn't me.
But
Well,
you still
Like
are.
I still am, but
Yes,
like,
give yourself credit.
Yeah.
You are an active wrestler, and that's amazing, but it's very nice that you.
but I would like to
recognize-
give them credit.
Well, that
um,
is amazing. I appreciate that. Very, very nice. And you are full of life, and I look forward to seeing you wrestle. I will have to make a point to come watch you wrestle.
I feel like we're on the few right now.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you the buzzer.
The wrestling matches.
That,
Yeah, normally
I
we're not
need
allowed
to-
to interact with people during comments from the public, because it is a time for us to listen.
Yes.
But it's important for us to be able to interact with you because this is directly affecting you.
Yes, wrestling is a big part of my livelihood. I have seen a extreme increase in grades, especially with wrestling being on the line. I want my grades to be as best as possible. The colleges I'm now looking into, like one of my colleges I'm looking to into right now is Cornell University. I've gone, my wrestling shoes, which are not with me, have been signed by Vito Arusha and Yanni DeCamahalis, which are top wrestlers for Cornell. And just mentally, I feel so much better doing wrestling than I have in any other sport.
oh, Izzy, you are a true inspiration. I am so excited that you shared your story. That is absolutely remarkable.
Thank
Eric,
you.
did you want to say something? Izzy?
Not only for the sake of girls wrestling, but for the sake of future athletics. I hope everyone is contagion by you and they catch some of your energy, because you are up there. You're up there, and I really hope it spreads like wildfire throughout all of our students here. So
Thank you
Thank you for
so
taking
much,
time.
Lizzie. Thank you. And I hope you have a great wrestling year. Amazing. That was absolutely amazing.
Is there any,
Agree to that.
is there any?
She got me a little.
Hey, guys, thank you. I don't mean to
Never,
dampen down
never.
your conversation, but is there anybody else who would like to speak towards girls wrestling tonight?
Just a little bit.
Thank
A little
you, Lexi.
update. I'm Alexis Ayers. I live in Lisle. That was amazing. Of course, I'm super emotional tonight. So today was a pivotal day too for us. I brought 2 more girls to practice today. I did come to practice with them. They felt like they wanted me there and support emotionally, introducing them. And then as we're sitting here, another student has signed up also. So we will have 4 girls tomorrow. And the girls tonight definitely enjoyed it, loved it, messaged me, said they will absolutely be back tomorrow. So I feel like Izzy said, this is a pivotal year of our in-between, further than we thought we would get for sure. And I'm really, really excited to be a part. As you had said too about the weight and things like that, I am going to be getting teal certified. And so I'm looking into that, so I will be able to help in the interim between the male coaches and the female wrestlers and sort of be a female. Not the wrestling part of it, but all the other stuff that encompasses, yeah. So I can be that for the girl wrestlers coming up. And also growing girls wrestling also grows boys wrestling automatically. So we're all in this together, they're wrestling together. Last week I came to the wrestling kind of like an after hours practice, brought a bunch of girls in my truck, we had a great time. And it was an infectious, wonderful energy to see all the dynamics going on, because that practice encompassed youth, modified, and varsity levels, and the girls and the older kids were helping the younger kids, and then the coaches, and we've got the new coach, and we've got the more experienced coach. We had lots of dynamics there, and it was amazing to feel that. So I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for all the hard work that has been done this year, not only by myself, but everybody here. To, like Murphy said, go through all the, rules, tapes, this, that, hoops, whatever you have to do to create something like this. And movement forward is progress. So even though we're absolutely not there just yet, but we've moved forward, and in my book, progress, that moving forward is progress. So I feel like I'm grateful definitely for the opportunities that I've had this year to connect with a lot of different people through my journey, through this adventure for sure. And I'm grateful for you guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Lexi.
you.
Congratulations for all your hard work. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Is there anybody else to speak towards girls wrestling this evening?
So first of all, I'd like to formally introduce myself. My name is Austin Rich Creek. I hail from Pennsylvania, York County to be exact. Super excited to be up here and coaching and embarking on this new journey. And seeing that you guys are going through changes as I am kind of encourages me to step up my game and be able to work side by side with all you guys and be here for the community that I'm serving. As far as the weight stuff goes, we're on a 1.5% system right now, which means you can only lose 1.5% of your body weight each week. And it doesn't matter if you weigh less than that. So there's no hurry to get down to a certain number. It's a safe system. It's a system that I'm very accustomed to coming from Pennsylvania. And it's something that I'm excited that is being implemented in New York. And again, it's nice that all the other coaches are going through this vast change as I'm also going through a change, but it's different. So I can kind of, almost laugh a little bit at that franticness and hide my inexperience with the New York system and embarking on this new responsibility. But as for the girls, I think that the support that you guys have shown tonight is wonderful, and it's really going to be encouraging to these young ladies that they have the support from somebody, because we all know that a girl might say that she can't, but as soon as somebody says she can, they're going after it full steam ahead. And it's like that with the boys too, but I just find that with girls wrestling, even in Pennsylvania, it was like one of those things. It was like, because it's taboo, they just attacked it harder and more ferociously than I would have ever expected. I know that our women that represent Team USA, heck, some of them would give me 3 shiners, so so it's just really encouraging to see you guys amped up and excited to give the students an opportunity to excel as athletes and as students, because we know that all sports breed character, right? And wrestling has taught me so many lessons that I've taken into my adulthood, and just really excited to be a part of this and see things grow.
Well, thank
So,
you.
thanks.
Thank you so much, and welcome to Whitney Point Coaching,
Thank you.
Austin. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Brand new cards right there.
Okay, any other takers this evening? Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for your input, and thank you for waiting until we could hear all of the new information. So all that being said, we need to vote on accepting our 2 coaches. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, approve the appointment of Daniel Beardsley, maintenance mechanic, effective October 17th, 2023. May I have a motion? So moved. Thank you, Chris. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approve the appointment of Allison Bennett, part-time teacher's aide, subject to fingerprint clearance. May I have a motion? So moved. Thank you, Molly. And a second? Second. Thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approve the appointment of Sydney Frederick, part-time teacher's aide, effective November 15th, 2023. So moved. Thank you, Tiana.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approve the appointment of Stephen Jones, bus driver, effective November 15th, 2023. May I have a motion? So moved. Thank you, Tiana. And a second? Thank you, Tom McGrath. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approve the appointment of Christopher Lamore, maintenance worker, effective November 13th, 2023. May I have a motion? Moved. Thank you, Chris. And a second? Thank you, Tom McGrath. Any questions or comments? Coaching from the village again, I see.
Yeah, I mean, you need to,
Yeah, I saw that in this thing.
Yeah.
What do we gotta do?
we're certainly not intentionally. pushing.
No, I know that. I know, but I get it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approve the appointment of Leanne Rutan, full-time teacher's aide, effective November 15th, 2023. So moved. Thank you, Tiana.
So seconded.
Yes, get it.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approve the appointment of Joanna Schlee, part-time food service helper, effective November 15th, 2023. So moved. Thank you, Tiana. And a second? Second. I saw Tom McGrath's hand go up before you said anything, sorry.
I wonder who was waving his hand over there.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approve the appointment of Jennifer Tyler, bus driver, effective November 15th, 2023. So moved. Thank you, Tiana.
So seconded.
Get it, Eric.
I'm on it.
Got it, Eric. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Can you say yay? See this too.
Yeah, I did.
I know, I was just gonna say, we're excited.
I keep trying to promote it
Please
to
do.
people. I
Longest track.
continue.
Anyone looking for a job, we got some bus driver jobs open, pays pretty well.
You have to be 21.
You have to be 21. Got some background checks.
Approve the appointment of Cynthia View,
Motion.
cleaner, effective November
we're done.
15th, 2023. May I have a motion?
Eric
Eric,
likes to do it. I'll second it because Eric's getting excited.
any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Good then.
NISBA Area 4 Director nomination. We need to approve a motion to be made to nominate a person or persons for the position of NISBA Area 4 Director effective January 1st, 2024. And this has come about because Sandra Rufo, who has been our director for many years, is now president of NISBA. Yeah.
Yeah, she's nice.
So do we have a name?
Right? Yeah, who was that one guy that sent us his? I liked him.
Chris, are you?
I sent you an email. My brain just left his name.
I know, and it just left mine too.
I'm
Are you
looking
gonna
right
look it
now.
up, Chris?
I'm looking.
I really liked him. I
It's
liked
not
his.
Nick, it's, he's at Windsor,
Pete Nowak.
Pete Nowak.
Yeah,
yes.
I liked him.
Yes,
So who is,
I
previous-
will nominate Pete.
Okay.
I'll second him.
Like I know him.
I couldn't remember his name, but I liked everything he said.
Okay, so Tiana, do you want a second? for that?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations for people to bring forward for NISBA Area 4 Director?
And just so you know, folks, area 4 is quite a large area. We go all the way up past Syracuse, actually.
Yeah.
But quite a large area. So if he does receive his 5 nominations, he will then go on the ballot. And so when the vote starts to come, we'll make sure you keep everybody abreast.
Thank you.
Because it'd be nice to keep a section 4 person on that board.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you, Chris, for that update.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Application for refund and credit of real property taxes. Pursuant to section 554 of the New York State Real Property Tax Laws. Total warrant changes $1,109.02.
So moved.
Thank you, Tiana. And a second?
Second.
Chris.
Not my check, so.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Approve the unit cost methodology proposal for Broome Tioga BOCES services for 2024 through 2025. May I have a motion? I heard Tom and Tiana.
Yeah. Thanks.
And it's all thanks to Tom that we actually have a document that is legible and understandable. And I will mention that every year.
Good job, Tom.
I just figure if I have to read through it, I want to be able to.
Understand it, right?
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay, any questions or comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That brings us to my absolute favorite part, superintendent's update.
Okay. I'll try to talk it rapidly. Just a quick project update. If you probably know, if you could see when it was daylight, that they put up some of the framing for the pool. That's been a big undertaking with big giant cranes pulling the steel down. So that's exciting to see things moving along there. Because there were some delays in getting that, and then so I personally would get a little concerned. Also with the TRA, they have set up the scaffolding because they're going to start some demo on the 3rd floor the next week, 11/20, around school hours, so pulling out everything out of there so they can get working on that upstairs there. Some other information. Did you see the proclamation from the governor that came after the school boards? It's a very lovely thing. So
It was nice.
Yes, it would have been nice if it came on time, but it's still very
She's
nice.
busy.
Yes, she's busy. I guess she's got a few things going on. So congratulations to you again, and thank you for your service. You're appreciated by all of us, obviously, and the community here, but the governor too. So thank you. I don't know if you know, some of you may, that there was a blue ribbon panel that has been looking at graduation requirements. They've been operating for the last year. They just presented to the Board of Regents yesterday. You can watch that, or you can even look at just the highlights here if you want to look at that. I think Stacy, we can have that put in the shared file for them
Yeah,
too.
can you throw it in there?
Yeah, so that you can read
Does
it.
anybody want to look at this
They want to
tonight?
make some good changes, huh?
Yeah. Everything that will happen will have like every step of the way, there'll be a public comment. It won't happen overnight, but they are definitely looking at some pretty significant changes. There was some, I guess a lot, I really try not to look at social media, but I guess there's a lot of online chatter last night about flag and the TRA.
I didn't know which gym it was. I was
It was
like.
the TRA
which
gym.
It's the TRA.
It's all wrapped.
Yeah, so there was a little flag in there, and it was like all wrapped, so we couldn't even see that it was a flag there. And there's been a lot of work done all over the place, and I don't know how that happened, but right now, there's a big flag on the wall.
Yay,
And
good job,
we are
Jordan.
actually, while we're at it, we are getting bigger flags.
I love it.
So,
So
I-
it
you know-
was an oversight and it's been
well, I think
rectified.
you couldn't even see it, because it was all, you know, it was like, it was a small flag and it was like wrapped up, so, yeah, so we're fixing that. If only everything would be so easy to fix.
Yeah.
I wanted to let you know that we've had, a technology, because we've actually had another technology position open forever. And you know, sadly, we lost our technology teacher at the beginning of the school year. We have that position posted. There are no technology teachers in the state, you know, I think in our region, there's 19 openings. I mean, there's just, so we're gonna add, agriculture, an ag teacher as a possibility, because in 7th grade where our current opening is, there's some flexibility in what you can do, and we have that greenhouse behind the school.
Oh.
So potentially, if we could find somebody who is, interested in working here, who had an ag education degree, we could make that 7th grade technology into a tech ag class,
Nice.
and which also might be nice for our partnership with Marathon, you know, our kids, their ag program. So if you see that advertised, that's the reason. There was some concern about where we left the conversation about computers for the group. There was a lot of, after the training that we had over the summer about, you know, whether we should get computers issued to everybody. It seems like in the region, most people don't, but there are certainly districts in the state where board members do get special devices. I think that we just need to have some finalization to what we want to do there. I know that people felt different ways, whether it was necessary or not necessary, and if you keep everything in the cloud, then that's not, and you don't have to decide that today, but we probably should just come to some conclusion on where we stand on that as a board. We also need to talk about board docs at some point, and
We'll do that in,
okay.
Board of Education comments.
All right, and then I also had, just to give you some information, we've had a number of trainings going on, and I know it was related to the concern of one person on where we are with getting everybody trained, in de-escalation. We do have CPI trainers in district. We have trained trainers, we get them trained, one of them's in the room. She does they do like the full training. We're gonna have part 2 for a number of people. One of the hard things about having people trained and certified is that there's you have to keep renewing that. So for the full training with the physical component, it really takes like a day and a half. So we have certain people trained with that training. And then everybody just gets the de-escalation training. But there's certain people who are considered in higher risk categories, work one-on-one with students with more needs, administrators, counselors, special ed teachers. There's a whole crew of people who get that training. And then everybody else gets de-escalation training. In addition,
Real quick, do the aides, everybody get de-escalating?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna make sure it wasn't
and
teachers.
and in multiple formats. So we do the CPI training. We just did another whole session with the aides on not exactly like CPI, but just other scenarios that you would, have practice and role plays on how to deal with kids in different situations, how to diffuse situations, how to recognize the cycle that students can go through. So yes, we do training like that. We have people from BOCES who come out.
Oh,
and train.
wonderful.
Great. And I think that's all I have on that. And the last thing I have is not great news. The Philadelphia trip. So last year, you may know that we used recovery funds to fund that trip. What we found is that the cost of doing the trip compared to the last time we did the trip was just an unbelievable difference. It cost us $17,000 for that one-day trip. And so, the feeling is there's no way we can fundraise for that. It's not like in reality, the DC trip, families have to contribute a lot, but they fundraise for multiple years. So,
So they'd have to basically start fundraising in 1st grade.
Right. Right, and the way the things cost now. So they're looking at other options and other things to do with kids. Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, it literally was 17 press conference.
That's outrageous.
Is there any other revenue sources for that, or even going through
Yeah, I mean,
some of the,
potentially, but the problem is you do it for every year, like you have to fund that every year.
Right. I know, it's a day trip.
Yeah.
And how many buses? So it's all of
And the
that.
buses are a huge part, but even everything they do down there costs way more than
Okay.
it used to.
What grade is it again?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade, okay, thank you.
There is some really cool things to do in New York State. Let's just figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, offer something else then.
Yeah.
I love
Okay.
Philadelphia,
So just
but.
wanna put that on your radar, okay?
Trip to the casino. We'll take the kids to
Get a lot
bingo.
of chaperones.
All right.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to our second opportunity for comments from the public. Again, preface it with what I said earlier, still holds true for tonight. Is there anybody who would like to speak at this opportunity? Okay. Board of Education comments. We have two things that we definitely need to discuss tonight. Hopefully, it won't take us too long for the sake of the people who are still here. We have updated quotes for board docs. Does anybody have 2 copies of the
I did.
What are you missing, Molly?
No, okay, never mind, that's fine. I see it.
No, you should have an LT and you should have a Pro.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got, oh.
No, I looked at the wrong column and saw the same numbers and
Oh,
thought that I had 2 of the same one. So, I would like to propose that we consider going with board docs light. I think that it will give us everything that we want to do. I know that there has been some concern about whether it's still secure because we're purchasing it through BOCES. BOCES does not manage the cloud where everything is saved. And part of the reason for us going to board docs is so that it keeps our materials off of the school's Google Drive, where there is a potential that by accident, I'm not saying anybody would hack in and do it, but by accident, somebody's given access to our documents, some of which are confidential. I know there's also been a concern expressed that if we can't afford to do it on our own, then we shouldn't be purchasing it through BOCES. But the reality is that if you can purchase it from Amazon, or you can purchase it from Newegg, and one of them is less than the other, you're gonna go with the least. And the fact is that we can make purchases such as this through BOCES, and it is aidable.
Yeah.
So what we purchased this year, we will receive aid back next year on that purchase, and then it will continue on. So this is the only year that we will have to fully fund the amount for board docs. After that, we will get the funding back each year.
It doesn't change.
It stays roughly the same. That's still the same thing. Again, like we were discussing earlier about it may change by 0.1 or 0.2, but it's never anything significant.
It just comes down to our earlier discussions of aid, right? Where, we get that whole, well, we're buying this because it's a good deal. Well, it's a good deal until they stop giving us aid. That's
The
that's
state,
my-
I know, but the state has been doing this for how many years have they?
Well, you can always, we can get out of it.
Yeah, but there's not,
I mean, you're not bound beyond a year.
we sign up for a year.
It's an
And
annual.
it's an annual thing. It's not, we don't have to sign anything that says we promise we'll do this for 5 years.
Right.
It's a yearly thing. Either we sign back on or we don't. So if by some chance the state stops doing the aid and it's all up to the state.
Yeah.
Then we can say, nope, we're giving that up.
So the giving that up piece, so the fact that it is our data and it is in the cloud with board docs. does that mean they would provide us if we decided to get out because something happens? So we would get that data back.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the part that I would want to have clear.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah.
So so I'm gonna just clarify something.
Okay.
So the things that are not predictable, so our aid that we get through BOCES is, and she said it in a very simple way, and it's not exactly true, but it's kind of true, that it has to do with our free and reduced lunch rates, and that's a pretty good benchmark to know, you know, if suddenly, like, some high-end employer decided to develop in Whitney Point, and suddenly our, you know, we grew and we get all these wealthy people coming, that could suddenly change but it would change all sorts of things.
Right.
The other thing that could happen to us as a district is, because we are state aid dependent for all of our funding, if the state's having a hard time, you know, you know, our aid amount would still be much more significant than most other districts, but if the state's having, as you all have witnessed,
Say as
been
in-
here,
in
has been having a
2008
hard
when-
year, right?
yeah.
Then everybody's impacted.
And they decided
Yeah.
they're gonna give us our regular
Right.
state aid, but then they're gonna take
Right.
most of it
But we
back.
would know that,
Right. Right.
you know, like in the next couple of months for the coming year,
Right.
and then you could say, all right, well, we'll have to start cutting this and that, and board docs is one of them, and we better pull our stuff back out of there, and that's what we would have to do.
Yeah.
And not contract for the following year.
Yep, and we can make that decision yearly. I know Zach's in here, so I'm hoping maybe Joanne can answer this.
Yeah.
So I do know it's aidable, but is all of it aidable? Is the vendor annual maintenance and the annual maintenance?
Yeah, the whole
The
thing.
it's the whole thing,
Yeah.
'cause- and then they're gonna go 2%, which I know 2% increase every year is sort of a low cut. Most tech companies do 4 and 5. So that's not too bad, but, I mean, I know that 80% of our BOCES school districts are using it. I don't care whether we go this way or not. I'm just as happy with Google Docs, but, I understand why we would wanna go that way, but I guess I'm personally not ready to spend all the money, but if the board approves it, I will stick by it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just like to look, I don't like to look at the single vendor. You know, BOCES is aidable, and the fact that I agree with you on price point. It's, you know, some of the products that I just roughly Googled without getting physical quotes were similar in price. Some less in price. So it was like evaluation of looking at the products and going, okay, well, yeah, everybody does it through BOCES. BOCES is a partner, but, and it's aidable, but if it's something we want to continue with, is it something that's where the question is, like, affordability, and that's all I wanted to state, is like, I do this every day. When I look at a software program, and I'm my own worst enemy, I'll look at 15 other ones, because I think there might be a better one out there that might be either more affordable, and I could have the best vendor under the sun. But this one over here is a little more affordable and possibly does something better, because we got the sales pitch from whatever BOCES. I wanna just be that fiscally responsible.
Right, but
person.
we didn't get the sales pitch from BOCES. We got it from the vendor.
From the
And-
vendor.
And I do understand what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I guess the fact that 80% of the districts in our area use board docs and they are happy with it. I guess for me, that makes me feel more comfortable, not talking about the price, that they're using it, they like it, they didn't go with others. I'm not going with this just because it's aidable. It's because I can talk to people in this area and they say, we use it, we like it, it works.
Yeah, the thing is, did they look anywhere else? We didn't have any other,
They
we didn't
did.
have any other.
Some of the other districts did, but they did say the board docs was the best way to go. So.
It's just, we didn't have any other sales pitches to go off of. We had no comparisons. So we're going based off.
Yep.
What other districts have done the same thing and said, yep, it's BOCES is aiding it, so we're gonna stamp it and say it's good. So that's all. I just wanted
And
to,
I totally understand what you're saying, and if it wasn't for the fact that other districts say that in our area, they like it, they're using it. I guess that's what drove my decision to want to have board docs as opposed to using a different program.
Yeah.
Because there were people that we could talk to who were currently using.
I'm a proponent of it. I think I recall when he was doing the presentation, I wanna say the aid was like 86 to 90%. It's a no-brainer. I mean, this is minimal for the return on your investment. It's a very small price to pay. I love the fact that 80% of the school districts are using it. I mean, I sent a highlight to all of you of why I think we should choose this. And I like the fact that, we can see other board districts present, or we can see their, actual minutes and tie to, particular topics, and we can do a search because it's all, out there, yeah.
Not all of that can we do because we're buying the light.
LT.
Well, there is still some options. I already looked into
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I like that though. I know that there is a difference between the LT and the Pro. But it also kind of creates an organizational structure with agendas, policies. We just talked about being able to view the policies and maybe making changes electronically as opposed to what we do right now. So there's a lot of benefits to this particular platform. I'm a proponent of it. I hear what you're saying, Tom. It's nice to always have comparables, but in my opinion, just because this is something that other school districts use and it's widely recognized and they have a really good reputation, and the cost because of the funding, it's just a no-brainer. I think it's gonna cost us out of pocket next year like around $600 or $700 for the year. It's a blip on the radar. So that's my opinion, and I'm for it. I'm not for the Pro. I think it's outrageously priced.
I kind of.
Would I be right in saying Stacy is probably gonna be the most in-depth person with this?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say something about that because
Yeah.
this is what I.
She is
do.
probably gonna be the person spending the majority of the time in it compared to any of us. Can we ask her thoughts or opinions if she has any, or if she's looked
I was
into it?
gonna say the same, because this is what I do my whole life. I
Yep.
put new technology in people's hands.
Do you have any opinion on it?
I don't like to be selfish, but I think that it would make my life 100 times.
I would just support that we as a district make sure that she gets the support she needs if she
Absolutely.
transitions over. Because.
Which I think is part of what
it's
they
left in my
provide.
hands a lot, so I wanna make sure you're supported as you get it.
And you saw you were here for that,
Yeah.
and so you went through like, oh, I love that. I remember you making comments that. Those
So
were,
I had actually a presentation from them myself personally before. I think it was actually like a year ago, I had my presentation and then. We just kind of talked about it a little bit and then just kind of got pushed to the side and I was like, yeah, it's no big deal, like. It's not difficult what I do, but that would definitely, it's just one of those, tools that would.
It would
make
streamline
things
things for
easier.
you.
Have you looked in any other products? I'm just curious.
I did, you had emailed a couple of options and I kind of looked into them and I think I feel the same way that Stephanie does, that just, I reached out to all of the district clerks in our BOCES, and asked them if they had looked into other things and what their thoughts were, if they like it. My brother's a board member at a district outside of our BOCES and he really enjoys working with it too. And, he's a business person, so he's works with a lot of different programs and he really enjoys it too, so.
And it's satisfactory. I don't like to sit through one demo. It's one person, one
Nope.
point of view, it's-
Totally get that.
normally I would agree with you, Tom.
It's not like, don't
I'm
sit
with you
there and
too.
try and sell me on one thing. I deal with salespeople all the time. We can do it. They show up
Their
and
product is the best.
it does, oh,
And their
yeah.
deliverables.
They promise you the
Yeah.
world, and
And I-
then when you're live, you go, I need support, and they go, what?
And I do appreciate the fact that you did look up some others.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
it's habit. You
It's
have
okay.
OCD.
I love it.
Different suggestion that you feel might.
No, the thing is devil's advocate, I like to know that there's options. I don't like to get the first sales pitch and then I was looking at the $10,000 price tag of that one and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is crazy just for
Yeah,
us
no,
to manage.
no.
And understanding that the lighter version is still, it's still, $4,000 or whatever, 2,000.
Are these numbers before or after aid?
Oh, before.
These are before.
Yeah, the aid, like I said, I looked at the numbers he presented and it was quite
Yeah.
impressive.
And then it's got the 2% increase every year.
These prices reflect purchasing through both.
Well, no,
Yes.
It's before the.
Well,
Right, before the aid, but if we went out and bought it as the district from SRIC, we don't get the price break we
No.
would get if we're buying as Whitney Point through BOCES from
That's
SRIC.
correct.
Okay.
And
The
because both
state
get the cut.
has, the state, NISBA has sponsored this company.
there you go.
yeah.
And we love NISBA. You like how I said that? And we love NISBA. At least I do.
Make mistakes. Yeah, no, and we all can, and
Anything else? Tom,
so
or you
can
good?
I,
Are you good with your questions?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of like, from a synopsis standpoint, I wanna know that everybody's like looked into holistically, that's all, it's just.
Yeah.
If it's not a holistic research and like, we've all done our homework, okay, great.
yeah, and to be honest with you,
Good.
you know, Stacy and I had, like she said, we had discussed it last year. And it was another one of those things that kind of fell off our radar.
Yeah, and I just wanna make sure that when it comes to the, like, the aid questions, like, with,
Mhm.
cause I remember Zach saying, you know, we're locked in because we keep getting more and more aid. Well, the thing is, we keep buying more and more aidable. It's great at the discounted price until that aid goes away. And that
Yeah.
aid goes away, you've been in the position.
Oh, yeah,
So it's like, do we keep kicking the can down the road? You gotta start somewhere, right?
yep, no, I agree, and so you know what? What we've always done in the past is anything that makes the board's life easier, that's the first thing to go when the crunch comes in, and I'm okay with that, because that's the way it should be.
I will say, Tom, that, I didn't see anything better in NISBA, and there must have been 200 vendors.
That's
Oh,
perfectly
nice.
acceptable.
And so, I mean, they were all comparable in price, but because this is aidable, in the end, the product is gonna do it. And it's the-
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, so,
that's fine.
I mean, I have to look at products all the time like you, so.
And I
So
think
why
so
is it
too,
the
I might-
only one that's eatable?
Because NISBA's the only one that, this is the only one that NISBA's recommended. New York State, I think it's a.
The New York State only recognizes NISBA's recommendations.
Well, currently. And I think it's our homegrown, I think it was from a year.
Hugely expensive.
Vendor, yeah.
It's a good, if you look, they have a good reputation. Yeah.
Mr. Casper, do you have any questions?
Nope, as long as it was gonna work and it's gonna make Stacy's life better, that's all I was looking
I
at.
love
I
it.
didn't have a lot of other input on it. I like pen and paper, but.
I know, I know, I do.
So I don't have a lot to add to that discussion, other than if it makes. that
I
easier.
am all for making Stacy's life easier. Cause, you know,
It makes our lives easier, but
you betcha, exactly.
Yes.
Are these gifts? Oh, I love gifts. Thank you.
this isn't to swear voter.
Oh, I like that.
No, but this
Yeah.
might be dangerous.
Oh my gosh, it's really cool. It's a game.
It's a pen, but it has a maze inside it.
Oh, I got a pen with a maze in it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so can I just poll each of you, Tom McGrath, are you okay with us moving forward with board docs?
Yes,
Okay,
LT.
Eric,
LT.
yeah, LT.
Okay, just wanna make sure. we're
I
clear.
agree.
Molly,
Yes.
Yes,
Anna.
yes.
Mr. Tasberg,
If we have to, yes.
Yeah. Tom, you
Chris.
just said you do it, make
Okay.
life
Yeah,
easier.
good. I'm trying. to- my life
Stacy,
too.
could you please make arrangements for us to purchase board docs light for the board to use and for your use?
Thank you. That way. There also will be training for.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, is there gonna be training? 'Cause I have no idea how to. use
Yeah,
it.
no, they had said that they would, it's like, we can have training as long and as often as we need to.
Oh, that's mine. That's-
You'll be all right, Tom. You'll be all right.
But that was one of the considerations too, is that they provide support and, you know, that's a good thing. Okay, the other thing that we were supposed to talk about today was board goals. I do have one that I would like to suggest, and it does involve our 3 new board members. But it's because I've listened to how you guys have felt about starting on the board, and it's something that we have looked into in the past. And then the board changes and then the person who was spearheading it is no longer there. So I would like to come up with a process for onboarding new board members that starts prior to your first day. Now, everybody can be involved in this, but I especially want your input because I want, and I do have some information that I forgot to upload to a drive that I can get at, other than at home, information on onboarding from NYSBA, that we can start with. But I would like to make it customized for our district, because while it's all fresh in your minds, I want to know what worked, what didn't work, what information do you wish you had, what information do you wish you still don't have that you would like. I know you all have to take the finance class, that's state mandated. But I want to make sure that we have a process in place, so going forward after this year, we have set documents and set timelines so that when we have new board members, we can get you the information as quickly and as fast as we can so that you're not starting off your first board meeting having no clue.
So that'd be on their goal to continue to ensure that we have informed board of education, to start out new board members.
Yes.
Now, I will say that this was a big topic at NYSBA, by the way. And they actually, NYSBA has decided they are contacting every new board member personally from now on. And they actually did a survey, so I do feel that it's a timely manner, and a lot of the at the vice president board meeting that we had last week at BOCES, this was something that a lot of school districts are working at, so I think it's a
Good time to do it.
Okay, not be another email from NYSBA. I mean, it's
Come
like.
up with a different.
No, they're calling all of you guys, so I don't know, well, I guess we'll find out.
Oops.
Yeah, no, so I specifically want you guys to help drive this.
Well, I think it's better to have a product like Board Docs to help with stuff like it. 'Cause a lot of the issues that I've had are, to be honest, following the agenda. Our agenda is a little all over the place, even when we don't change it. It's, and it's very difficult for me to follow, and in the docs, I think a lot of it's gonna help when it's organized in some fashion. Outside of Google
consistent,
Docs.
like better flow.
Consistent. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so, from a standpoint of, let's get back to you on that, because I think that it may change with Board Docs. And some,
Yeah.
even if that gets replaced or if it gets cut, it may assist that whole.
Right, but I also want to have in place, like, okay, what training do we need to have you guys do before you start? Whether it's with us, through NYSBA, or something else. What do you wish you had known about being a board member before that first meeting?
That you can't discuss things in email.
I think it would be good to provide like a little one pager to people that are considering running for board.
We do, we have one.
Well, I don't think that's well written out, because it's not, when you get to the board, it is completely different than
Okay.
what is presented to you.
Okay, that's good.
In my,
input.
I don't know if you guys agree, but in my opinion, it is nothing
Yeah.
like what I was told it was gonna be. It couldn't be more opposite.
Except when we were here telling people out there, it's not what you think.
It is
I know we told people
It's,
that.
well, but that doesn't help me to know when I run for board, what can I expect? I would have liked to seen that right in black and white.
Yeah, like a do's and don'ts type of
Well,
thing.
right,
and,
well, not even do's or don'ts,
an
what,
Overview of.
what,
Please, yeah.
what you need to,
limitations, your
it's almost
expectations.
like what you need to consider before running for a board position. I think that would be the like subject line right
Yeah,
there.
and part of that too is making sure everybody goes to the potential board member training.
Well, I did go to that. That wasn't enough information, believe it or
Yep,
not. That was
okay.
helpful.
So again,
The cookies were good.
So, so when would you like, our ideas presented? Because I'd like
start
to
sending
think
me
about it.
emails.
All right,
Okay.
so are we allowed to do that?
So here's the thing.
Sorry.
Okay,
Because I mean, I'm more than happy to write it all down and discuss it in the next meeting, if that's.
We can do
appropriate.
that
So
as
that's
well.
fine. Yeah.
We can also
So-
do a work session prior to a meeting where we're just addressing that. And we'll talk about the emailing back and forth. Because in this case, you guys sending emails and my compiling all of that information is not making a decision about how the district is run.
Right.
It is purely a
Gathering
training
information,
purpose.
yeah.
It's gathering information. We can shoot suggestions back and forth. We're not doing school board business at that point. Okay.
Would you like me to provide things to consider before running for board?
Sure. Anything, you know, whether it's what we give out to people when they're deciding to run for the board, whether it's how we, once they've been elected, how we get them prepared for their first meeting and continuing out through the first year on things to keep up with and to continue education. And it's also a good refresher for the rest of us.
Absolutely.
So yes, just start shooting me your suggestions. I will make sure that I compile that and I get it to Stacy before, you know, the first batch. So it can go out in our board packets.
People wanna leave, so.
I know. So anyway, any other goals that anybody wants to add on for this year?
I wrote some things here and I can send them to you, like people we gotta get off of here on the board goals, like.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll, that's
Yes,
gonna be on, and
I had a bunch
Marcia
of-
Stahl and
Yeah.
things like that. But, one thing that and this is again, something that I think would be helpful for me is I, found out from all of our constituents in section 4 that generally speaking, the vice president would work with the president when they do the meeting with the superintendent. Like the week before, when you set up the agenda and stuff.
Actually, the district office sets up our agenda because it is driven by the needs of the district.
Right, but then I found out from the other, everybody that usually the vice president and the president generally meet 1 week prior with the superintendent about what the agenda is gonna be, right? What the agenda is. Do we do that here at the school
Only if there's
district?
issues. So Stephanie and I talk if there's gonna be something that we need to put on the agenda, because most of our agenda is stuff that just has to be done, like
Okay,
hiring. firing.
So I would just like to explore what other school districts do there, because sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not learning enough if ever I had to do something, so just an idea, just out there. So when it was brought up at the vice president meeting, I'm like, raise the hands, who meets with their superintendent 1 week ahead of time? And everybody but 2 school districts raised their hand, so I was a little curious about this one.
And I don't necessarily meet with Joanne before.
Well, that's why I was curious,
So
that's
I'm
why I was curious
saying-
about it, so I'm just curious about it.
Good question.
And usually if there's anything that you guys need to know about before the meeting, I called you all individually to give you a heads up about it.
Yeah, so I
If
just
there's-
thought it
if
was
there's
something
anything-
cool that we could
Yeah.
explore, and maybe it could be something the board could think about. And then the other thing that I thought, this might be happy moments for you. This was really interesting. It was a very large meeting that most school boards make the vice president take care of the superintendent's evaluation process.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, trust me. I had already planned on talking with you about that and handing that over. Which was another reason for getting super eval too.
So super eval, so I'm just telling you some things that I learned.
Yeah, that's
That
good.
may be able to help us work more efficiently.
In the past, we haven't had a vice president who wanted to be in charge of that. And-
Well, I'm not saying I necessarily want to be in charge of it, but I am pretty tech savvy, so maybe I can help you
I
get started.
think go
on some of
with
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it's okay with you to, because we're taking up time, can I submit to the whole group? Just some suggestions, because I don't want to like take up all the time
I
here.
think maybe we just should send to Stephanie and.
Oh, just,
Stephanie
and then you
can-
compile stuff, would that be okay with you?
Sure, because I have a few too.
I just, I think
yeah,
it'll.
if you want
You
to
know,
just scan
As long as
whichever.
we don't debate and discuss. I mean, you look at it, you open it, you look at it, you close it, there's no issue.
Bring it back. You
Yeah.
can send stuff to everybody, but what we can't do is
Debate.
make comment, like send back an email comment on good night,
Yeah. I can
something.
work With you, I can send things back and forth to you.
Good night, Coach. Nice to meet you.
You
Thank
can,
you.
you can send it to the group. But then we can't have anybody say, respond directly to your email.
Yeah, but if I send something to you and you respond to me, that's not.
That's fine.
That's not a violation.
That is not, yeah.
That's where it's like, you know, these and then, if I'm talking to Tiana or.
Yeah,
Eric,
but also, so like if Joanne sends an email out to all of us as an FYI to give us a heads up on things that are going on or something that we're going to discuss at the next meeting. We can't then individually respond to the whole group saying, I agree, no, let's not do that, because that makes it become a discussion and all of our discussions should be held in public in front of. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Sounds good.
I'll send you my comments.
Yes, me as
Okay.
well. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else tonight for Board of Education comments?
Yes, two things, please, real quick. I would like to ask the board and the administration to consider approving the special waiver to allow the youth club and Booster Nest to have access to the school facilities on Sunday for practice. This does impact a current policy that we have. As you heard Murphy say this evening, this does help prevent injuries, conditioning, supporting health and wellness. So I think it is time, although the policy is old and we have allowed it in the past. I would like the board and the administration to consider that. I understand there's some components for that consideration. But given the components, I do think that this is feasible and I hope that the board and the administration would consider it.
I concur.
And I think that before we as a board can make a decision, we need to have all of the,
information.
well, it's not even just the policy. It's
all the information that,
Yep.
that Joanne could provide, but that's why I'm asking,
Yep.
I'd like you guys to consider it. And then the second thing, the young lady that spoke earlier, I felt terrible for. I know that this, Beth Ann Quayle, I know that this has been brought up several times in the community. I'm not gonna say social media platform, but my mom, as you guys all know, is a registered nurse and this does happen frequently. Clearly it does cause a significant impact to the parents that are impacted by this policy as it relates to notification of lice because it's not a, what do they call it? It's not a health,
It's not a health concern.
health concern, but it does impact, so I don't know, Joanne, if there's something that we could look at to consider in reviewing that policy.
It's not a policy, it's given to us by,
It's a state.
yeah, I mean, so because if you heard some of that, I mean, it is horrible when having kids, it's like, everything stops, it's a huge expense, it's terrible, it's awful.
It's 6 kids, I know.
It's really, I mean, nobody's denying that,
So are
but
we restricted from at least notifying the other parents, not even if we don't give a name?
so you
Because it's
proposed some
actually
things.
ridiculous when you can't put your girl's hair up.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
I mean, I think that some of the things that we can institute, which are not super fun, are changes within, and there are things that you can do to prevent the spread, right? Like,
Right.
so not having kids' belongings on top of each other,
Okay.
not sharing hats, which we do sometimes in classrooms,
So
not,
preventing
you know,
spread.
And they
they're
put
part of it. But
Awareness.
backpacks and bags and they do stuff like that.
So
Yeah, they-
we're not allowed to, well, so some of what she said, which was all things that we used to do, we used to like. Literally, if somebody on the bus had it, or
No,
somebody in
I-
a classroom had it, everybody was marched down,
Right.
everybody's head was checked and notices went home to everybody, and we're not
And
supposed to do
life
that
was
anymore.
controlled then,
And we-
because it made sense.
And you also
Sorry,
were
but-
sent home, like, kids were sent home, and we're not allowed to do that.
So for this, I mean, I was concerned about it too, because it was brought up even during public comment,
Yeah.
probably 2 months ago,
Yeah.
3 months ago. And I mean, so is this the thing to discuss now?
Well, I'm just,
Because I was wondering as well, I mean, I don't know, I have 3 daughters, they came home with us, holy cow.
yeah,
I
no, I
mean,
know,
The only thing worse than head lice would be bed bugs, because my house would be burnt to the ground.
yeah, no.
Because head lice was, and girls with long hair, and it just killed me to listen to both of these things, that these people, because I know we've gone through it. And we knew what we were doing,
Yeah.
And we had the resources to do it. And I remember being marched down back in the dark ages, when you run the whole class through and everybody go through everybody's hair.
Right.
And, you know, I just, this is
And you
just,
were traumatized. It was
nobody,
okay.
no, because everybody,
Everybody did.
and it
right?
was, and I mean,
So
and
I think,
it's,
one of the things that maybe we can consider doing is have our person who's our medical advisor, come here and talk with us about it. I mean, she's the one who we have to get advice from, but it's
Okay.
not, so it's not just a Whitney Point decision, it's like,
Right.
you know, it's, but maybe there's some other things.
what
that
we can do, and I know what we,
Yeah.
if we can't,
Right.
can't do something, but if it's not recommended, but we can
Thank
do
you,
it,
Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would much rather do that, and I know. I still, because I go into schools, I even have shampoo that I use every day because I know I'm in the schools. You can't have the coats touching, everything had to be in backpacks and
Yeah.
bags, and it just, I just
So-
can't believe that this can't.
Would it
be
please the
taken.
board if I requested, or we requested that we get information on what the regulations are, what we can and what we cannot do?
Yeah.
So that we as a board have a better understanding, and then in addition to that, look at what some other options are.
Preventative too.
Right, yeah.
Also, so I think that's something, I mean, it's hard with little kids especially to say, don't touch your heads together.
Because they snuggle
Yeah.
to each other and all of that, and.
And like she said, every K4, they still nap, so they're napping,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's really hard.
What,
Would you guys be okay?
There is Head Lice Awareness Month. It's already passed. it.
Yeah, would you guys be okay with what?
So is
Stephanie's-
everybody okay with us making their request? Cause it, something like this has to be something that the whole board would like information on.
Most
So-
definitely.
Are you all good?
Courtney Ellis James
I have a
is
question.
it's like essentially our medical director, and
Right.
she works with our school nurses, and maybe we can have them all come and talk about these issues.
I know that my students, I'm a health teacher, you guys don't know that.
Oh,
but,
I didn't know that.
So we actually did a little 2-minute podcast on how to help control head lice. Just, it was like an awareness little thing, fun thing.
Oh, maybe you
So-
could share it with us.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I actually, that was one of our first conversations, wasn't it, Molly, with our 23 students?
I love
They have
that.
long, beautiful hair. Start pulling it back, start using your hair conditioner, start using your blow dryers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's a terrible thing. I am not minimizing it. I
Right.
think it is
Yeah.
a good discussion to have. What can
Third
we do
grade
to-
for Megan.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
What was the reason for stopping head checks and stuff like that?
We're not allowed to because it's humiliating.
Humiliating to children.
It is
You know what?
it is a.
Just a little bit of levity, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping in front of you, but
I'm patient.
my wife works at a school. And she lives, she works in a wing where it's the younger students, and she said she came home and this was just, little kid's running down the hall, he's all excited, he looks at one of his other friends, he goes, "What's up?" He goes, "I'm excited, I'm going home, I got the lice." I mean,
They don't know any better.
it wasn't, he just like, hey, I get to go home, and
Yeah.
it's just making light of something that's not a real.
Mr. Scully.
So of course, as usual, I'm perplexed on things that I looked up here. And this webpage was updated and copyrighted in 2023 by the New York City Department of Education. And this involves New York City Public Schools, very head lice. Question, can my child go to school with head lice? New York City schools have a no head lice policy. Students who have live head lice are not allowed to go to school until they are lice free.
That's city.
That's city, that's New
They,
York
they
City.
actually have
Totally
different, they have
Yeah, we
totally
have
different regulations than the rest.
Okay,
of the
that was my
There
concern.
you go.
Is it the same regulation
Totally different.
authority if they're able to do it?
Even different teacher rules.
Why don't, yeah,
They're special.
oh, they're special, all right.
They're a different country.
But that was kind of my question. This is current information.
Yeah,
Physically, we're not that far away. It's like, well, if they could do it.
so
How could
we
we
need to
not?
do something to help mitigate it going on in a way that is thoughtful and that
Yeah.
we're not causing stigma, but also that we don't have a family
Go ahead,
And
vote.
I don't really wanna like, but there are other pests too that are a problem.
Oh, I know, bed bugs.
Yeah.
Bed bugs and roaches. and-
Well, maybe we
Yeah.
can even incorporate that
Yeah.
too. Stephanie, I'm sorry, you did ask the board about getting information on that, but you didn't see anything about my request on the youth club and Eagles for the practice.
Yeah, I
Did you say you were gonna gather the information or you were gonna ask?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I heard
She
that, but I
said
just
we
wanna
don't
make
get that
sure.
ready.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I kind of made a unilateral decision on that
No,
one,
thank
sorry.
you. No, that's okay, because you
Sorry,
didn't actually
Joanne.
ask the board, so I appreciate that. Thank you. And that's all I had, Stephanie.
Because
Thank
we
you.
have to look at it from both sides.
Yeah,
and-
absolutely.
And come up with a compromise that
That's fair. and
works for
reasonable.
everybody.
Yep.
Would we be reviewing the policy then?
Yeah, you have to review it.
I've already
Yeah.
reviewed it. Thank you.
Anything else from the board?
Very, very quickly,
Okay.
in regards to the, thank you to Stacy, our clerk. I was, going through some policies and procedures through our website. There was a bum link that was like an infinite loop. She got my message, she had it corrected almost immediately and sent a response back, so thank you for that. in the
Eric,
process.
you need to find a life.
I don't.
If you're sitting at home reading through board policies
I'm
at
sorry,
night.
but I send Stacy those same messages.
No, I know, but because he's like, I was
Yeah.
here and just browsing through policies.
I'll send them to Shannon,
My
right?
emails were between 2 and 4 in the morning typically. And in regards to that, talking about policies, I don't know if we need to put this to a vote or make a policy about policies. Since we're doing a lot of changes, can we make a very concerted effort to publicly notify our district through our social media page and our website? Hey, such and such, especially the bullying thing, to make people aware that there's been a change, a modification, or a readaptation. Those are pretty important to the people that, I know they get things in their calendar, but,
Are you talking like just a blurb on the website that says policies have
Yeah.
been updated?
you know, update, blah, 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 such and such policy is available for, has been updated, available for your review, see the link. Not publish the whole policy, just steer them,
Okay.
just to
How does
say,
the
hey,
rest
there's
of-
been a
How does
change.
the rest of the board feel about that?
I like that idea. I think that the more transparent we can be with the community is the better off we are.
And then the public knows we're doing stuff.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I like the idea of just
Thank
having
you,
a
Tom.
board
So
update.
people will come in and say that we're not transparent, we're not doing anything for years,
Thank
then
you,
get on the
Tom.
school board and don't know how to do it.
Thank you, Tom. Thank
So-
you.
Can board docs do that also?
Yes, board docs will be able to. do
It'll be
that.
able
It's
to.
getting
bring
late.
these to it, so.
Okay,
you're
so Mr. McGrath, and I'm sorry that I keep going, Mr. McGrath and Mr.
Yeah,
Tasper,
we gotta
but
get this.
That's fine.
you know.
So probably late for dinner. Although I missed.
Yeah, it is a little late for dinner. So he did have a good idea in terms of possibly, even if you could have one of us help update it, is have on the Board of Education page, we can put something on there that says, you know, this meeting, the board approved to update the following policies.
Or whatever.
I was more so
Yeah.
going for just like a blurb on our ticker.
No, I know.
Instead of making a whole separate category, which,
Yeah.
okay, that's deeper, I get it, but.
Let's start with doing the policies and then we can
At least
work on about
blurb them
what
out.
else we
At
would
least
want
blurb them
to,
out to the public. you know.
yeah.
So, because bullying is important, when somebody may have it printed out, downloaded, just waiting. And they're like, oh, I got Joanne this time, well, no, that
I'm
policy was
kidding, I still
updated
have
last
my
week.
physical policy book at home.
I think that people who really want to know, and I'm sorry for interjecting.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
But, we have, like, the minutes are out there.
Yeah.
So and the policies are always in the same place on the minutes. I'm not saying that this is a bad idea.
True.
I'm just saying if people really are looking, they're going to look at the minutes to see those.
Correct.
So
But
maybe
I
when,
just like
when
the idea that if it's something that was just done.
Yeah.
And it's not even for people that are looking for it, it's just like, oh, wow, this is interesting, I mean, talking about phones and stuff, really, like, people just click on anything, and it's like, oh, wow, what is this?
so
What
we'll
did they?
figure out exactly what we want to put on those updates and,
Well, board docs is gonna make it searchable, so in that like updates page or whatever, like you're saying,
Go right to
they're
it.
gonna make it searchable.
yeah, the public portion of it, yeah.
Yes, the public portion, and that's the part that, I mean, I have people from outside, hey, what went on with whatever at the board meeting, I missed it, I didn't watch, I can't find the recording online. Okay, and sometimes it's because it's like the day after or 2 days after, it's not up there. Well, just have to wait until it's up there and look.
That kind of thing.
Can I ask one thing? Sorry, just quickly,
You sound like a toddler saying, can I have one more? No, I'm sorry, Molly. I'm getting,
I just
I'm getting
wanna add
punchy.
I know, I'm tired. And I haven't looked at our website just in the very recent past, so I apologize for sounding ignorant, but is there a notification about the BOCES budget vote coming up, like on our personal website? And is any information going home to parents about the upcoming vote? Just out of curiosity, because
It
we're the
was
ones
on
most
our
affected, the parents. so-
Website, and I think it was on our social media.
Okay, was it on social media?
I
too,
did
and I
so.
missed it.
I think I did see
I
it.
think I got it in the mail, but I don't know if it was to
It has come out
residents
in the
or just
mail.
board members.
Yeah.
I don't think it was-
That was just.
I think it was just.
Is it possible to put a refresher out there, Stacy or Joanne?
On the vote,
Just as a
the
render?
voting information.
Yeah, just,
Closer to time.
yeah,
Let's be
because,
careful about not adding
Oh.
tons more of stuff for Stacy to do.
no, just that that's an important.
It was on, 21 days ago, they first put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we could do a refresher, that would be wonderful, just to remind people that your vote matters. We have a lot of kids that go to BOCES that'll impact.
You know, put a reminder out.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote, I'm gonna do my absence.
Okay. Anybody else have one more thing?
I just wanna say the conference was amazing. I know.
Oh, good.
The conference was absolutely amazing and learned a lot of things and really enjoyed the guest speakers. They were absolutely, and do have some new stuff coming out. I'll gather it because we had Shenango Valley present and we had Vestal present, and I tried to present for our school district. I only got one teacher that took a bite, yeah, so, hopefully next year we'll be able to be part of that presentation. Although next year's conference is in New York City and it's on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Was this year in Syracuse, Chris? Where was it?
Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo. And then how many days was it?
It was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I stayed at an Airbnb about 1 mile from the conference center, so I saved the district about $300.
Oh, good.
So I just little walking and $80 a night instead of $250 a night. So it was really nice
Awesome.
and I really enjoyed myself.
Well, I'm glad you went and thank you, and we look forward to hearing.
I'll give you some extra
Yeah.
information when we're not so late.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Anybody else? Okay, we do have the need for a executive session, so we are going to recess the public meeting at 9:28 PM for discussion on personnel. When we are done with our executive session, we will come back into public session and then immediately adjourn the public session, so there is no reason to hang around because we won't be discussing anything after that. So
Thank you all.
so please go home.
And thank you, thank you.
Yeah. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Okay.
Izzy or Lizzie?
Eyes?
Izzy, thank you again, Izzy, for speaking.
Thank you.
Lexi, Sean, always good to see you, Molly, and I don't know the other girl, but thank you for coming.
That's my kid.
Oh, well, he's wonderful.